All right, guys. As you know, I love sports. I love them so much, I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and the sports just aren't sporting like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going wherever and whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app, dream up some bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. So head over to fanduel.ucss.com/UCSS and start making the most of your summer. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball.
Woo! Let's hope this next segment goes better than the end of that ad read there.
I got to take my headphones off when I read those. I was hearing the delay, and I'm like, words.
People don't realize, like, there's a delay when you speak into the headphones back there, and it does throw you off if not prepared. But let's hop into our first topic of the day, guys. The Browns are heading to Greenbrier. They will hold their first official practice of the 2024 season. This afternoon, Kevin Stefanski and select players will speak to the media. We'll have a full recap and breakdown of what the coaches and players say tomorrow, what happened at practice tomorrow. We can't do it today because, well, they don't practice till after we're done. So we're going to save that for tomorrow and focus on a big picture topic here with the Cleveland Browns. USA Today posted their 2024 season predictions, records, playoff teams, Super Bowl matchup, and winner. We're going to run down the gauntlet and see what USA Today got reasonably right, what they were way off on, and how the AFC North and particularly the Cleveland Browns stack up. According to this USA Today projection, and they said it was all their writers together, they put everything together, USA predicts the Browns to go 10-7 in 2024, finish second in the AFC North behind the Cincinnati Bengals, and secure the number 7 seed in the AFC playoffs. Let's start with the Browns at 10-7, then we'll go to the AFC North, then we'll go to the overall playoff picture. But Tyvis, 10-7 for the Browns, according to USA Today. Is that fair, unfair, right around the right spot, or way off?
I think that's fair, and that's right around the spot that I would probably have them at. I probably had them myself at like 11-6. I mean, listen, when you look at their schedule, it's not an easy schedule, you know. And the thing about this is so hard is that it's probably going to be an injury at some point of the season that might derail things, or you never know what's going to happen. Or other teams might be facing injuries, you know. Like last year, I forget who we played, but it was like at the perfect time where people were hurt, and the next week guys started coming back. And
it was the Cardinals.
Yeah, it was the Cardinals. Yeah. So it was like you get them at the right time. So it's hard to really predict exactly what it's going to be. But if you take everything fair and everybody's healthy, which it's impossible after today, everybody's not going to be healthy for the rest of the season. But if everything is healthy and everybody's fair, I think the Browns will go about 11-6.
Yeah, I'm actually right there with you. 10-7, 11-6. They're going to win one or two that they shouldn't, that they'll probably steal, and they're going to give one or two away
every year.
Every year,
it always happens.
We're going to sit here on a Monday and go, "How did they lose that game?" And then you're going to come in on a Monday and go, "I can't believe they won that game." It's how it goes. I am concerned about just the quality of the opponent, the quarterbacks that they face. It's going to be, of course, we're assuming health on this. The quarterback play that they're going to play this season compared to what they saw last season is night and day. And that is troublesome and significant. And I'm still not 100% convinced that Deshaun's going to be Deshaun. I don't know how anyone can feel confident based on what they've seen that he's going to be the guy. Certainly you hope so. And I think 10-7 is based on pretty decent quarterback play, because if he doesn't play well, it's going to be a whole lot worse than that, because of everything that we just talked about.
Because of the quarterback you're going against.
Yeah. I think that's spot on in terms of overall divisional records. 11-6. 11 probably wins this. I don't know that anyone's going to get to 12 or 13 because the division is so good. Mm-hmm. So I for the most part, you can mix and match those teams in any order that you want. But, yeah, I think all four of these teams are going to finish between 8, 9, 10, 11 wins.
Do you think that you think this is the second year that each team finishes over 500?
For the record, USA Today, this was the only division in their projections that had all four teams above 500. So USA Today, at least, when you look at the overall, we'll talk about some of their teams later, they also believe that the AFC North is by far the best division of football.
It is.
Oh, it is.
Unquestionably.
Yeah.
Unquestionably, it's the best division.
Yeah.
Dang, the Broncos 4-13.
Well, let's save the other teams till after we finish the Browns in the AFC North. I haven't made my official season prediction yet, record-wise, for the Browns. But when I saw this, I was like, if you wanted to argue 11-12, I'll hear you. And if you wanted to go 9 or 8, I'm also willing to listen. The Browns won 11 games last year, despite the carousel of quarterback play, despite the fact they led the NFL in turnovers, which I think we gloss over sometimes.
Yeah.
They won 11 games despite turning the ball over a record number of times. They led the NFL in
it's
turnovers.
unheard of.
What never happens in football? You win when you lose your starting quarterback, and you win when you turn the football over. And the Browns somehow overcame both of those in the same season. How? Well, they got the absolute jackpot home run. You can't ask for a better schedule in terms of timing when you play opponents, who is healthy, who is not, than they got last year. And to Jason's point, the gauntlet of quarterbacks they have to play this year is absurd. Outside of the AFC North, you got Mahomes, you got Tua, you got Herbert, you got Lawrence, you got Dak. If any of those rookies are good, you got those guys to add in the mix. Plus the natural attrition of the AFC North. It's going to be tough to win 4 or 5 division games. Like, if you go 3-3 in the division, you may be disappointed, but that may still be as good of a record. Like, so to project more than 10 wins, I can certainly see it, but it's not going to be easy. And if you're projecting more than 10 wins, I think you're placing a giant bet on Deshaun Watson to be closer to the Houston Deshaun than the Deshaun we've seen in Cleveland thus far, which certainly could come true. I don't think it would completely shock any of us to see Deshaun get back to his MVP-esque level type play, but that's a giant jump from where we've seen him thus far, and that's why I think it's hard when you're looking at the predictions in terms of an overall record. How much of a jump are you willing to take with the other injury questions they have with Nick Chubb, the offensive line, and can this defense stay as healthy as it did? Because last year, that unit was virtually unscathed.
Well, yeah, according except for what Denzel missed a couple of games or something.
And Delpit
like
missed
that.
3 or 4, but for the most part, their key guys were all healthy.
I just think when you look at the Browns and Deshaun Watson in particular, it's amazing to me that all his teammates speak highly of him. Everybody says, "Oh, if you see him in practice, he's doing this and that," and I think that's why, to me, I'm confident because, like, when you hear teammates saying those things, it's there. It's still there. And I think that was the part that a lot of people don't realize is that if he was in practice and it was just, it was
Do they
just
ever not
good.
say that, though? I remember Sam
Yeah.
Darnold in Carolina
Yes.
where his teammates in Carolina were like, we got a quarterback. Like, we got Sam Darnold. They started 3-0 that year. And then it all went completely crumbling down. And I'm not saying it's not true. But how much can you really take? I mean, you came in and called him Tom Brady last year.
He did look like Tom Brady in that practice. That's why. That's
my
why
point.
I'm doubling down on what I said. I think it's there, but I'm saying I seen it with my own eyes, so I'm like, it's there.
Yeah.
I just needed to get to Sunday. That's the only thing. Like, I know you could do it. You're showing everybody that you could do it in practice. I just need you to do it consistently on Sunday. And I think with this schedule that they have, he got no choice because it's not only is he going against trying to get himself back, the guy across that he's going against, the other quarterback, is going to be really good. And he's got to be somewhere in that ballpark.
He's
at
got to
least.
match him,
Yeah, he got to be somewhere in the ballpark of that quarterback that he's going against to get the Browns a chance every week.
Someone on Twitter asked me last week to go through each of the 12 games Deshaun has played and see who won the quarterback battle in those individual matchups, right? Like, they were like, Deshaun, they were trying to make the case Deshaun has played better than we've been giving him credit for. So they're like, oh, go look at these individual quarterback matchups. Did he outplay the opponent? And there were only 3 out of the 12 games where he was clearly outplayed. And that includes the Gardner Minshew game where he only played 5 snaps. But they asked to look at the full 12. The games that Deshaun technically won the quarterback battle, it wasn't like he was necessarily lighting up the floor. Their defense just completely negated what the other quarterback was. I'll go back to week 1. Deshaun threw for 154 and a pick, ran for a touchdown. But he outplayed Joe Burrow because Joe Burrow threw for 82 yards and 2 picks. You know what I mean? Like, winning the battle matters, but was he really winning? So we need to see just better Deshaun play. It comes back down to that every conversation.
But it also goes to the fact of what they've built. They've built this thing it's been so much that this NFL has been, you got to be offensive. You got to be able to put points up on the board. We got to be able to outscore people. And for the first time in a while, it's like, no, we don't. The defense is just going to go out there and we're going to shut you down. We just need you to give us at least 14 to 20 points. Somewhere in that ballpark, we should be good. We'll handle the rest. And as a quarterback, that takes a lot of pressure off you because it's like, I don't have to go out there and shine. Trust me, I want to, but if it's just not my day, my defense is going to have to bail me out sometimes. And if I can just put up 3 touchdowns, that should be good enough.
Mahomes in a Super Bowl.
I just get annoyed hearing that.
That's what it is.
You had that. You had that quarterback. That's all you wanted. You had that guy. So why'd you give up all those draft picks and $230 million if all you want is 14 to 20 points and hopefully, God, he can outplay a guy in the rain coming off surgery? Like, that's not what you got this guy for.
I hear you, but in the Super Bowl,
hey,
when you gotta have it, fourth quarter, 2 minutes, and you gotta have it.
Six never gave it to you.
That's what it is. At the end of the day, what did Mahomes have to do that in the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
You asked to answer your question. Why did you do it? Because of the Baltimore. That's why.
But when we lower the bar and it's the gymnastics, the mental gymnastics that Browns fans do to justify, well, he hasn't been that bad, and it's like, yeah, he has been. He hadn't played well. Like, let's just say it. He just hadn't played well. It's in there. He can play better, but he hadn't played well.
He got to get it from Tuesday and Friday and Saturday, and he got to get what he does those days and do it on Sunday.
Do it on Sunday. Yeah. I hope he does.
When the live bullets are flying, we see Deshaun
You just gotta see
which
it
we
on
saw
Sunday.
in the last time he played, which was against Baltimore in the second half. Now it just needs to translate over to the first quarter, and the first half of the first week of the season, and onward and onward.
And again, I am by no means a master baker. I was not one of the guys that was all over.
Why you got to say it like that? I don't like.
Because he's trying to get a laugh.
I don't like that phrase.
No, it was good.
I don't like Baker. I don't like Baker Bros. So I came over with my own.
Master Baker.
But I never thought that Baker was. Well, I shouldn't say never. I was off the Baker train early.
Really?
Early. Oh yeah.
Like when? How early?
Kansas City opener. When he threw the pick at Kansas
What
City.
year was that? 2019?
No, it was.
2020.
No, it wasn't 20. Was it? Now it's all running together. Must have been 21.
Yeah.
After the playoffs.
After the playoffs.
After the
21.
Yeah.
Because when he threw the pick.
That was his last year, though, wasn't it?
No, 22 is when he was hurt, right? Or am I?
No,
No,
21 was his last year.
when he got hurt.
Yeah, but he wasn't hurt in that game.
Not in that
It
game,
was
but he
like
got
that.
hurt a couple weeks later, the next
right.
week.
You're right. I remember I was talking to people in the Browns locker room after the game, like the Chiefs lost. I'm like, that's on 6. It was, you got tripped. I'm like, no, man, you're the quarterback. Stop giving me excuses. So that was the game.
So you saw it about the same time that the front office saw it.
I don't know when they saw it, but I left, and he played so well that first half at Kansas City.
Yeah, he did.
He played out of his mind. And then to lose that game the way they lost it, I was like, and that's when I started digging into the numbers. And that's when I started pulling up the last 4-minute numbers. And it was like, oh my God, these are horrible.
But since Deshaun has been here, let's throw away the 11 game suspension. Let's go last year's season and the handful of games that he played. Is there it's one game that I could point to that he literally lost, and that was Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he was not good down
Like,
the
he
stretch. Now, the
literally
offensive line
threw
was not
yeah,
good either.
He threw
but
that was
I
him.
actually forgot about that one.
Yeah, that was him.
Yeah.
All he had to do was literally take care of the football, and I think he either fumbled it or he picked through a pick.
He got Jed Wills didn't move. He got crushed. He fumbled it. It turned into a touchdown. He only lost. That was the only game he lost last year as a starter.
Well, see,
But he didn't play great against Cincinnati.
But you get what I'm saying, though.
Yeah.
He ain't losing you games.
He's got to play better.
I agree, but at the end of the
gotta play better.
day, he ain't losing you games.
Well,
either.
guess what? If he plays last year like he does this year against some of these opponents and some of these quarterbacks,
He gonna lose a
he's
lot of
gonna
games.
lose a lot of games. He's gonna lose a lot of games. He's got to play better.
Let's look at the rest of the AFC North in terms of that. So they had the Browns at 10-7 in the 7th seed of the playoffs. They had the Bengals winning the division at 11-6. They had the Ravens missing the playoffs but finishing 10-7 just like Cleveland. And then they had the Steelers at 9-8. Guys, when you look at this from the USA Today predictions, I know we've talked about as a whole that we could see the division coming out and turning out any team 1, 2, 3, and 4. That feels, I don't know if I'd pick the Bengals to win it, but I can't really argue against it with any
Who
validity.
is the Bengals corners? Because they lost Cheeto. They got
the guy they drafted last
Cam
year.
Taylor, Britt. Is that
Still have
him?
Mike Hilton.
He's a nickel.
Cam Taylor, look, DBs. Yeah, Cam Taylor, Britt.
And who's the other guy?
I don't know.
Where's our Bengals expert bull?
He's in
Seattle.
Is it the Wolverine kid?
Dax?
Yeah, is it him?
I think he's a safety.
Is he? I thought he was a corner.
Somebody call Bolden.
According to ESPN's depth chart, Their two cornerbacks are DJ Turner,
Okay, that's the dude from the Wolverine.
in camp.
Cam Taylor-Britt, and then Mike Hilton in the
Hilton's
nickel.
the nickel.
Okay. I mean,
With Geno Stone and Jordan Battle as your safeties, and Dax Hill as your floater.
I don't love it. I think it's doable. I think they can win some. Obviously they're gonna have to win some games with it. I got a lot of respect for the DC Lou. He does a really good job of putting them in position. I guess it's just gonna come to the production of their corners for me. Obviously, in a passing league, you want them to be very good at making plays and getting their hands on the ball. I know Turner got speed. That was like a big thing for him. And Cam Taylor-Britt was supposed to be moving up the ladder. He's supposed to be like the next big thing. So with this happening this year, he got no choice. He's got to step up, and I think their season kind of rides on their two corners, in my personal opinion. And I don't know if they're gonna go 11-6 because I got to see the production of their corners.
The Ravens at 10-7, Jason. That's a regression from 13-4
That's a
last
big
year.
regression.
They
Yeah.
got Derrick Henry. They lost a couple guys on defense.
It does feel like they're not as good as they were last year.
The Ravens.
Yeah.
I mean, they lost Patrick Queen. They lost Geno Stone, which was
They
two.
lost their defensive coordinator. who-
Jadavion Clowney. The DC
McDonald,
is
he's in
gone.
Seattle, who I think is really good, by the way.
I think that when you look at them, they're banking on younger guys because they had David Ojabo, who they drafted. They got the kid that they drafted from Penn State that ran the 4.3. I can't think of his name. That D. And so it's time for the guys that they drafted for like 2 or 3 years ago.
To
Step
emerge.
They got to step up and they got to emerge defensively. Offensively, Rashad Bateman is the key to me. Like you don't have an X anymore. You got Zay Flowers, you got Mark Andrews, but you don't have that outside threat. And they just paid Bateman. If he comes out and has a season, then they can be as good as anybody because talent-wise, defensive talent-wise, I think that when you got Roquan Smith, you got Kyle Hamilton, you got all these guys on defense, Marlowe. Like you got people that's gonna make plays defensively, and the Ravens defense is always gonna be good. I think they got a solid foundation. They're always gonna be good. But if they can't pass the ball in the fashion that they was passing it last year, will they still be successful? Because do you just load the box? Like that's the question. Like, do I just load the box and stop Derrick Henry and Lamar? Okay, Mark Andrews. Okay, every now and again, like Grant Delpit, I feel like is good enough to check Mark Andrews. I feel like G. New is good enough to stick with Zay Flowers. But who's gonna threaten MJ Emerson and Denzel? Like that's where for me, that's where I find the Ravens part kind of scary because I don't think they have the outside receiver threat, and I think that it could potentially come back to haunt them.
I figured the Ravens would have a little bit tougher of a schedule than the Browns just for finishing higher, and I'm looking at their opponents. It kind of feels like the Browns have a harder schedule.
Who do they?
They're at Kansas City to open.
They should play most of the same team.
Yeah. But a couple of them you get to hire, like in the cross division, you get to hire. They're at Dallas. Obviously, the Browns are home against Dallas. They're at the Raiders, like the Browns. They get Buffalo at home.
The Browns get the Miami, so that's the swap Miami-Buffalo.
They're at Tampa.
The Browns get the Saints, so
That's
Tampa
probably-
versus the Saints.
Tampa, I get. That's kind of a wash to me. At the Chargers.
What? Tampa
At
is
the
a
Giants.
wash to you? Dang.
Again, I'm not a.
You're not a master baker.
I'm not a master baker. At the Giants, Philly at home. At the Giants, at the Texans. I don't know.
So Texans, Jags,
Texans, Jags.
Saints.
I guess the
Bucks.
Jags. I'd rather play the Jags than the Texans. So advantage Browns. Saints, Bucks.
You'd rather play the Saints.
And you'd rather
You
play
rather
the
play
Dolphins
the
and the
Saints.
Bills.
All right. So I guess the Bucks or the Ravens do have a little bit harder of a schedule.
The Ravens were a team we talked about health,
Yeah.
and the Browns' defense staying relatively healthy last year. The Ravens were the pinnacle of health last year. They actually made it through essentially unscathed offense. And they lost Mark Andrews for a little bit. No, every team suffers some injuries, but I'm talking big picture. Most of their key guys were healthy from start to finish.
Yeah.
And that almost never happens in consecutive years.
That means that the pendulum gonna swing the other way this year.
If you're betting against the Ravens and with USA Today making them drop, not making them drop, but predicting them to drop from 13 wins to 10 wins, I'm guessing they're banking on some sort of injury regression for that team, whether it be a Lamar, a Zay Flowers, someone on that defensive line, which they can't withstand as many losses to anymore because they've just lost so many key pieces on that defense. Clowney, Queen, and Stone were their second best defensive lineman, their second best linebacker, and their second best defensive back last year. all gone. Defensive coordinator in Seattle. Someone completely new, a first time. I think it's Brent Irving in D.C. running a defense for the very first time.
Was he on staff?
Yeah, he was on staff.
Okay, so he just got promoted.
But he's like 34. He's played.
Oh, he's young.
Real young guy. Yeah,
I like young DCs.
Yeah.
I like
but I'm just saying,
he's going to make some mistakes for sure.
A lot of turnover there for a side of the ball that also lost players. It's one thing to lose a coach if you got the guys. You just lost 3 key guys from that defense last year. That was good but not great.
Like I said, if they hit on their draft picks and those young guys step in, it'll be fine. Like, I think they'll be fine. Like, Baltimore is a team, like how Bull talks about, it changes year to year. Some teams do well on defense, and the next year they're not. Like Baltimore is a team that I just feel like is always going to be top 10 because I think they just got a good foundation, a good scheme of what they run, and they get the right players that can plug in and play and do the same, and get the same results.
Let's look at the AFC playoff picture according to this USA Today prediction. They had the Chiefs as the 1 seed. They had the Jets as the 2 seed, guys, at 12-5. The Colts as the 3 seed at 11-6. The Bengals also 11-6. Those are your 4 division winners. Then the wild card teams, you have the Bills at 10-7, the Jaguars at 10-7, and the Browns at 10-7. That means the Texans were left off this list. They had the Texans finishing at 9-8. So this is what USA Today predicted the AFC playoff picture to look like. And Ant, you want to chop in for 1 second?
They also have the Jets winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we're gonna get let's go playoffs.
All right.
Come on. We got to give the two Super Bowl teams before we pick the winner. So that was the AFC USA Today predictions. Jason, is the Texans and Ravens not being part of that 17th
Let me see that one more time.
What stands out the most to you?
I think the Texans not being part of it is nuttier than the Ravens not being part of it.
The Jags and the Colts, baby. So the
Colts were 11-6.
Don't get me wrong. Like, the Colts thing, it's picking up a lot of steam. Like, I can see the Colts being really good this year, but
the Texans are coming fast.
That would mean that Anthony Richardson is the MVP of the year. Like, that's what that tells me.
Or Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers, yeah.
Aaron's gonna be fine. I don't know why everybody don't believe that Aaron's not gonna be good. You know what my problem with Aaron Rodgers is? You know why I'm so a big Aaron Rodgers believer? Because I sat on that field. This would have to be like November-ish of 2016, my rookie year, and I was still with Seattle, and I watched that man shred the LOB. I mean, I was a fan. You ever lose so bad that you start cheering for the other team? I was sitting there like, this man is a wizard with the ball. Yeah. I see the hype.
Yeah, he's incredible.
When I seen that, it's hard for me to just think that he ain't that guy no more. So when people say that, like Aaron Rodgers, I'm not a big Aaron Rodgers fan. I'm biased because I literally watched this man just completely destroy the LOB. It was terrible.
The LOB and every other team in the NFC for about a decade and a half. Yeah. The Texans, they had it 9-8. That was my one big omission.
Yeah,
I was looking at. I just had a couple other things that caught my eye. I thought the Texans at 9-8 was a miss. They had the Dolphins at 8-9. That must mean they're banking on some sort of Tua regression. The Jets at 12-5. That's a lot of confidence in Aaron Rodgers and that offensive line to keep him upright. And then I thought the Colts at 11-6.
That's bold.
That's a bet on Anthony Richardson, especially in that division. I don't think it's absolutely absurd, but it's clearly a bet on Anthony Richardson and some confidence in Shane Steichen, their young head coach. Let's go to the NFC side here, guys. The NFC playoff picture starts with the San Francisco 49ers at 13-4. The Packers also at 13-4. The Eagles at 10-7. The Falcons, because they're a division winner, they'd get the last home game at 9-8. The Lions 11-6. The Rams 10-7. There's a bug flying around my face. And then the Chicago Bears at 9-8. Caleb Williams.
The Bears
making his playoffs in his debut. What stands out to you?
That might be nuttier than everything else.
What is going on today? The Bears?
This was USA Today, by the way, not our projections.
One of the top responses on Twitter to this is, you guys always are good for a laugh.
Yeah. The Bears?
That's crazy.
Hey, look, we gotta cut this out. Like it's got.
What's more nutty, the Bears at 9-8 or the Packers at 13-4?
The Bears.
The Bears.
I agree. I'm asking the question.
I can understand the Packers doing it. The Packers got a plethora of wide receivers, and if Jordan Love continues to progress, it's just something about him and what's the LaFleur. Like they figure LaFleur does a great job of just calling plays. Like
he's good.
He's a heck of a play caller, and he knows what he got, and he knows how to get those situations and get favorable matchups. Who is they running back? Josh Jacobs?
They got Josh Jacobs. They let Aaron Jones go to Minnesota.
That's pretty good.
They got Josh Jacobs. Some other teams that stood out to me in the NFC. This isn't in the playoff picture contention, but they had the Seahawks, your former team, Tyvis, at 5-12.
Oof.
Listen,
that's
call me crazy.
That's I don't see that happen.
I like Mike McDonald a lot. That team has too much talent to go 5-12 unless McDonald somehow is a complete busted head coach. Yeah. And I think he's going to be a really good NFL head coach. So that to me stood out. They had the Vikings at 5-12 as well. The Giants and Panthers at 4-13.
Did y'all see like Sam Darnold really got the job?
They haven't made anything official yet.
They told me I seen something that said JJ got to do something impressive to win this job. Like that's Sam's. And then I seen something on Twitter yesterday. Sam hit Jay Jettas on an 80-yard bomb or something like that, right in stride. And I was like, yeah.
It's training camp.
Get Sam Darnold in your fantasy this year.
That's worse advice than speed up when you see a cop.
Nick Mullins threw for 400 yards.
You were there for that game, weren't you?
I had him on my fantasy team.
Oh.
Shout out Nick, man. That was my teammate.
So in the Super Bowl, they had the New York Jets beating the Green Bay Packers. Thoughts, and then we'll move on.
This gotta stop. Like, I mean, that's a perfect story for Aaron Rodgers. He gets so much hype. Aaron Rodgers against his former team in the Super Bowl like that. When you get a storyline like that, it never happens. So therefore, I can tell you that that's not gonna happen.
Jason, thoughts on a Packers, Aaron Rodgers versus former team?
Not gonna happen.
I think that was a manipulated prediction.
Yeah.
To get the New York buzz, to get Aaron against his old team buzz. I will be shocked if the Jets go to the Super Bowl. Like, shocked.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
I'm with you. I don't think having either one of I don't think the Jets are going to make it. But if you wanted to talk yourself into an Aaron Rodgers resurgence, they have a roster that's Super Bowl worthy. So do the Browns. So do the bunch of teams, Super Bowl worthy rosters.
I don't think the Packers is that insane to make the Super Bowl.
Well, I was going to say, I don't think individually it's crazy, but to pick them both.
To Super Bowl? I think it's insane.
They were phenomenal down the stretch last season. And Jordan
Super
Love,
Bowl? Yeah. I think it's insane.
Which team is more likely to get there, the Jets or Packers? You think the Jets?
I think the Packers.
I think the Packers too.
Well, that's not fair.
Why?
That's not a fair. You can't ask me.
Why is that not? That's the two teams they picked. Why is that not fair?
It's not fair for you to say. You know why the Jets might not get there. The gauntlet that they got to go through to get there is hard.
Exactly. So it's an easier NFC. It should be an easier path for Green Bay.
That's a layup question, though.
Then answer it.
The Jets.
Oh, whatever.
No.